announcement that I have for today, other than I'll probably just to give Josh a little bit more time, we'll recap the board meeting next week. But Dad did officially join as a member, so we're one member ahead of where we were last week. So good to have you, I guess. He's my dad, I can say it. I'm so anyway, I think that's all I've got for today. So I'm going to turn it over to our program with Josh again as a guest, and look forward to hearing what is going on in the city.
So I had emailed Alex. Steve had reached out per usual and said, hey, we'd like to have the State of the City again this year, which I know is like a long-standing tradition for Rotary to have. So first of all, glad to continue that tradition. And I told Alex, I said, well, Krista and I have been working on this speech and it's getting kind of long. And I said, so we need time for Q&A because that's where we typically have the most fun and we get to learn. So a couple things. One, we're scooting the meeting a little bit, so I appreciate that. At least, feel free to get up and get whatever you'd like. Continue to enjoy lunch because I know we've kind of shortened time on that, but I want to be sure we've got time for Q&A at the end. And I guess the reason the speech, quote unquote, got kind of long is we've been doing a lot of good stuff as a community over the last year. And Chris and I have a lot of fun, or I have a lot of fun, going back through the year and sort of picking out the things that we want to highlight. And so, once again, I'm honored to be back with Rotary for the 2023 State of the City. And this is number 3. So if you recall, the first year we don't do a State of the City. We kind of do a joint informational session, I guess you could call it, and we laid out the 100-day plan. So this is number 3, and our team has been really busy and has worked tirelessly over the last year to serve our residents and have met many milestones and achievements and accomplishments. And I'm excited to stand before you today to share just a few of those and what we've done to really lead us to the point of what everybody hopes is the statement every year, that the state of our city is strong. And we've got a great team to do that. That's what we're going to run through today. But we're going to start with probably the most important part is the state of our finances as a city, which is also strong. And we stayed on budget and into 2022 in a great financial position. And under the leadership of City Clerk Treasurer Amy Borns, who is with me today as well, has continued to be good stewards of funds. We've exceeded projections. We've worked with our financial advisors to ensure a long-term fiscal health plan. And her office has worked diligently and effortlessly, sometimes it looks like, to modernize our office, and it has allowed our departments to continue to work together and to make sure that the city is running full steam ahead. And under her leadership, we've transitioned to Civic Systems, which is a new state-of-the-art system that allows us to expand and be more transparent in real time with our department heads, which has really brought the clerk's office into 2023. Her office has also led the transition from paper timesheets to digital timesheets, which allows our city employees to interact quicker and more openly with her office. This also allows us to do it in a more efficient and effective manner. And in collaboration with the Clerk Treasurer's Office, we've continued to work on our employee benefits to make sure that our employees have what we need in these changing times. Amy and her team have continuously worked to ensure the financial success of the city, and with strong finances from 2020 and well-planned investments, all of our departments can continue to focus on providing our residents with the best service possible, and that we can continue to pursue investments in all of the other areas of our community. And so let's get started. It's been a busy year for all of our departments. We're going to start with public safety. So Greensburg Police and Greensburg Fire both had busy years and are working to engage with our community, and they've logged thousands of training hours, worked day and night to keep our community safe. And the Greensburg Police Department last year answered thousands of calls for service, but we've seen a considerable decrease in crime, which is a trend that we've seen for a couple of years in a row now. And this reduction in crime is because we've taken a more active role. Chief McNeely and I have really put a commitment to have an engaged, active, funded, and present police force, and I think we've done that. GPD patrolled over 250,000 miles last year. In 2022 alone, logged more than 2,000 citizen engagements through our community events, And GPD continues to be a leader in law enforcement by hosting and bringing nationally rated programming and training for law enforcement to Greensburg. They're bringing agencies from across our region and state to train right here in our community through these programs, and they've really done a fantastic job of being great stewards of our community. They've also added a few new faces, maybe three, in the last year, and we're happy to welcome them to the team to be a part of GPD going forward. The fire department has also evolved. We've had 4 promotions and 4 new hires, and they've logged thousands of hours in training and leadership, physical readiness, mental health, and much, much more. And our firefighters also increased their EMS response capability this year to include an advanced life support for a non-transport agency. And then that way we're able to be of more assistance as those first responders on the scene. GFD's also secured funding, and I spoke to this organization last year about this, secured funding for a new headquarters and Station 1, which is to be located on North Broadway near the bypass. We're very, very excited about this project in that it will be a new home for our department for the first time in about 50 years. So it's a great piece that we're excited to have, the safety features, the space, the training rooms, and all of this allows our department to continue to grow. But really one of the things, and if you recall we talked about this, one of the things we're most excited about is the separation between the apparatus bay and the living space. This allows for a more healthy living environment. It also allows us to prevent toxins from spreading from the living environment from the bay into the living environment. And then we're also going to have space for men and women firefighters to join our department. We're also going to give them dedicated training space, both inside and outside. And the new station is going to improve that quality of work life and will be a part of our retention and recruitment strategy for firefighters going forward. In addition to that, they've added a more robust emergency drone response team, and they've logged thousands of encounters with our public throughout the year. They continue to work with GPD in my office to host the community service or community public safety night outs, which I know many of you have attended. And speaking of that, they're actually going to be back in 2023. We'll be sending out the postcard that's got the times, the locations, the addresses. As you may know, we move them around the city each year to be in different neighborhoods, and they have been just a phenomenal success. They're one of my favorite parts of the year that we participate in, and we're just continuing to build that relationship. So be on the lookout for that. Now, switching gears quite a bit, we're going to switch over to the utilities. Our wastewater plant, water treatment plant, and utility offices have also had big 2022s. The wastewater plant has worked together to advance progress of personnel cross-training, ensuring that staff's able to do multiple jobs at the plant. We've also had the successful submission of our 2022 state and federal regulatory reporting. And then we've also been able to eliminate all of our polymer usage in the VLR. Most people don't know what that is, and I nod and thumbs up. But the really important part of that is the chemical usage reduction is a huge accomplishment, not only in our advancement of environmental production and improvement, but it also reduces our operating cost. So we've been very excited to be able to achieve that over the last year. The wastewater plant also saw the successful compliance of a phosphorus startup limitations. We've made upgrades to both the North Broadway and Sand Creek lift stations, and our team has worked to purchase property at the Ohio Street lift station, which allows us future room for growth to better serve the northeast part of the city at that interstate interchange, so that we're prepared for that when it comes. We saw that opportunity, Superintendent Smith jumped on it. And the wastewater plant and staff under Superintendent Smith completed 2 successful Indiana Department of Environmental Management audits and repaired, replaced outdated equipment. But then the fun fact of the day is they treated 1.3 billion gallons of wastewater last year. So that keeps them pretty busy 24/7, 365, and we couldn't be more proud of them for that. The water plant, which as many of you know, began operations in late 2021, has produced over 840 million gallons of water since it went online. And with the much improved capacity, we've also been able to improve the quality, and our water treatment staff has worked to do that. Our staff has repaired 24 water main breaks over the last year, installed and repaired service lines, replaced hydrants, and have located or been a part of nearly 2,500 utility service across the city. The new plant capacity is 6 million gallons a day. We currently run about 2.2 million gallons a day, which allows us that more time for quality assurance and to slow down the process. In the new plant, we've also installed the powder activated carbon, which is up and running, which reduces the past taste and odor issues that we have faced. And I'm glad to say, since the new plant's been online, we've not had that issue. We also held the celebratory open house so that residents could see up close how we treat and distribute water to residents and businesses. And then late last year, we actually did bring on our bulk water fill station in front of the plant, which has sold 74,000 gallons of water so far. And in coordination with both water and wastewater, the utility office processed over 2,300 service orders, 62,000 payments, sold millions of gallons of water to industry and residents, and completed a new billing software upgrade as well. The software makes it easier for you to pay your utility bill, review that. You can sign up for text reminders, pay through online, all of those different features, and we're still working through some more advancements of those. We did start a stormwater utility in 2022 to some fanfare and some question, I guess, but it was needed, and it's set up to fund and repair our stormwater infrastructure, something that we don't really pay much attention to. And the stormwater utility did raise the funds necessary to complete its first project, which was a stormwater replacement, a storm sewer replacement that had failed over on North Street. And then we also did 27 inlet replacements across the city. This was a joint effort between our city engineer, our street department, and our utilities team, which helped reduce that out-of-pocket cost to complete the project. So stormwater is moving forward, and we'll continue to make improvements as we come across them in part of our long-term capital improvement plan as well. The utility staff in the office is always available Monday through Friday. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to them. They're more than happy to help as well. So our city engineer, Ron May, also had a busy 2022. We issued a lot of street cut permits. We reviewed those stormwater fee appeals. We created a geographic information system department, also GIS. I spoke about this a little bit, and Emily's husband Jeff actually is in charge of that area for us. And GIS is operated under the engineer's office now. That's a change we've made in the last year, but they really do work with all of our departments, public safety, and the county to store, visualize, analyze, interpret geographic data that we use to map sewers and water utilities. We do all of the addressing for the county through that department as well, so for 911 and emergency response. And our GIS program is now going to allow us to create an online citizen reporter tool, which will allow residents to file concerns and complaints through this process that will locate it. And we'll be rolling out this new and innovative tool in the near future. We've been building it for quite a while and trying to get it to work, and I think we're about there, so we're just gonna keep pushing for that piece of our puzzle to be put in place. Other projects that the city engineers worked on in the last year includes application for phase 3 of the funding for Park Road reconstruction, the completion of the pavilion at Pirate Park, and the reconstruction of streets, sidewalks, and crossings out around the North Park area. In coordination with our teammates, we've also worked to expand and work towards a citywide or improved multi-use system path and create a more pedestrian-friendly environment, all under his office over the last year. One of the big items that we completed in 2022, and some of you helped us with this, was our comprehensive plan, which was overseen by the Building, Planning, Zoning Office. The plan and the community input, which was done through open house sessions hosted by American Structure Point last year, lays out the direction for the city for the next 7 to 10 years. And this plan includes areas of growth, services, the wants and needs of residents, and some housing opportunities that we see as coming. The comp plan is available on the city's website if you'd like to review it. It's 60-some pages, but it's got a lot of great information, and it is something that we do use. The building office has also begun the process that goes hand in hand with that of creating a unified development ordinance. A UDO brings the existing ordinances related to development, planning, and zoning together in one updated, comprehensive, detailed ordinance that allows us to take it and work with developers and builders in a much easier fashion to say, this is what you need to do in order to build in our community, instead of sending them all over the ordinances and all over the different structures. This should really help us with that conversation when we talk to developers and builders. And it follows the comp plan, because you go through the comprehensive plan and then you develop an ordinance to help you fulfill the comp plan. So it really has been about a 3-year project that we are sort of in the home stretch. And additionally, the building office has issued 157 permits for homes projects and business structures in the last year. A lot of times that number seems higher than you might realize, but they've done just a great work for us in that area. The Code Enforcement Division of the building office also sent 441 violation letters to home and businesses for grass, junk vehicles, trash, regarding code infractions on their property. And then they work with the building and the street department work together to oversee the mowing and cleaning up of properties. And in 2022, they did that more times than the 2 previous years combined. So they've taken a very, very aggressive approach to code enforcement. And it's really this idea that we want to work with our neighbors, but we're emphasizing, enhancing our appearance, health, safety of neighborhoods through code enforcement, and they've taken a very active role in that. So I just mentioned the street department helping with that. They oversaw the microsurfacing and resurfacing of 8.5 lane miles of city streets last year, which includes the addition of curb ramps to make our sidewalks ADA accessible. Road projects such as this are made possible through their submission of a community crossings matching grant, and last year we received over $500,000 from that process. And the city of Greensburg, working with the Decatur County Commissioners, were awarded $7.7 million in federal funding for the Park Road reconstruction of phases 1 and 2. Truly a joint effort with the county and the city teams. The sanitation division of the street and sanitation department collected 7,200 cubic yards of trash. And while that doesn't mean much to us, let's put it into pounds, 6.5 million pounds of trash last year. Just trash, not recycling, just trash from the city last year. We also saw the largest amount of heavy trash ever collected during our May heavy trash week. So we've restructured that a little bit. We'll see what 2023 brings. In lockstep with the fire department, the street department has also secured funding for a new facility on the same campus on North Broadway near KB, between there and the bypass. The construction of the new building will ensure that health and safety of our staff, keep expensive equipment out of the rain and snow, and allow for separate space for staff to work inside. And for the first time, and you'll remember me emphasizing this when I was here last year, for the first time, we're giving our teammates the appropriate restroom space they need to work together, lunch facilities, and space to thrive as a team. So I'm very proud of this. The City Council, the Board of Works, and our teams have been unanimously supportive of this growth. I'm excited to see this project come to life. I'm excited for them to get moved into their new homes, and I would invite all of you now to our open houses when those are online, which should be mid-2024. For 2023, the completion of our projects from 2022 really can display what our accomplishments as a team have been, but not only when we work together internally, but also externally with our state, local, and regional partners. We can see this in our nationwide success of the Make My Move program, our Accelerate Rural Indiana project using the $20 million in Regional Economic Development Initiative dollars through the state, also referred to as READY. Those will bring improvements to our region, and in the upcoming weeks, months, we're going to have multiple of these types of projects that kick off that are quality of life based, including new residential development groundbreakings, the street fire department complex, which I just mentioned. And we continue to build relationships to work to achieve greater results by partnering with others. After partnering with the Decatur County Commissioners on phase 1 and 2, we applied again through NDOT, in partnership with them, for phase 3 of Park Road. The Park Road reconstruction project is something that I've championed since day one and will bring major improvements to that corridor, pedestrian safety, vehicular safety, lighting, drainage, to create a much safer corridor that connects our city park amenities. And I think you're probably all aware that there's been a lot of discussion at the county about improvements to the Allen Memorial Pool. So that would be a great, another asset on that end, and connecting it all the way into downtown Greensburg. And on the other side of the city, we completed Pirate Park, which is the community green space and soccer complex that was identified in 2017. And we were awarded funds over the last couple of years to complete that, we call it the Pavilion at Pirate Park, through the Indiana Destination Development Grant, the Greensburg Redevelopment Commission, READY, and it really does help bring Greensburg into the future of sports tourism. We're excited to see what tournaments, events, festivals, and so much more can be used in the green space this year. If we move north and west in the city, we'll end up at North Park, which was in dire need of those improvements to parking and drainage. Also, we improved the sidewalks and crossings so that our kids and residents can use that large green space more securely for generations to come. We've also improved the lighting and provided signage, which makes it a more secure environment for those that want to use it. Through this partnership with NDOT through CCMG, we also partnered with the Decatur County Parks to include additional improvements inside the park, and those have already been completed. One thing that I'm a big believer in is that we can have investment that follows investment. When you invest, more will follow. And in addition to the work that the Decatur County Parks Department did, the 2022 Mayor's Office interns selected North Park, not persuaded by us or anyone in the office. They picked that location as where they wanted to see their community enhancement project go. Cole and Marissa, who were the two this year, thought outside the box, and they came up with this idea to take out the tennis court / parking lot and put in an outdoor game pad. So this is going to include permanent cornhole, permanent ping pong, and a few others that will yet be installed this spring. I think March, they're going to be delivered in March. So they're on their way, but they will be there. It's kind of a bring your own equipment style, like the Frisbee golf course and others that are there. So as that was being announced, the Mayor's Youth Council, which is a new countywide group of junior high through seniors from North, South, Greensburg, and St. Mary's, selected North Park as where they wanted to put their project as well. So they've seen the investments being made, they've taken the opportunity to apply for a statewide grant, which is not in the 2022 State of the Address, but by the way, they have been awarded that. So keep an eye out for that, and there's a great matching fund opportunity for them. But they've selected to rehab the basketball court at North Park to make that a place that people want to be again. And this kind of leads me to my next point, and I know that the Rotary Club does this, but when we take time to invest in our youth, bring them to the table to have a conversation, I believe we substantially increase the likelihood for continued involvement and investment in our community. I remain committed to welcoming them to the table, to find roles that benefit the community, and I would ask other organizations and community leaders to do the same. I think they've got a lot to offer, and we all work every day to encourage people to come to Greensburg and be a part of it, and I also work every day to encourage people to stay here or come back, whether that be immediately after school, after furthering their education, or garnering a worldly experience. I want them to come back to Greensburg. So if we can get them to the table, have them be a part of the conversation earlier, then I think that really does pay great dividends for us. Speaking of attraction, again, we're trying to attract people and industry. I'm happy to announce that a project that's been on the books for 20 years has closed in on a completion date. And so the Greensburg Municipal Airport should receive its new identification numbers yet this year, and this will allow us to grow and continue to work with our already corporate partners, but also work to attract more. I do often get the question of what's next for it. My piece is now we have to go use it. We need to be showing how that investment can further development in all of Decatur County and our region. And so that's what's next, is we've got to use it to generate more investment. And that more investment conversation is exactly what the Greensburg Redevelopment Commission, often referred to as the RDC, does. And when I was sworn in mayor in 2020, there was a lot of discussion about housing. So we went to work right away on that. And the Redevelopment Commission members have stepped up to be leaders in that space. And I'm excited to share that we will see a spring groundbreaking this year for a new residential development on the north side of town along Veterans Way. And the redevelopment commission has been working with Beacon Homes to build mid-rate, mid-market, single-family homes in the first new subdivision in the city in years. And the redevelopment commission has just truly been the best partner to help see that. This housing will give us an opportunity to continue to attract and retain by giving some more options in housing, new construction, and I'm excited to see what they can do to help continue to make Greensburg the best place to live, work, and play. And the redevelopment commission has just been a rock star to help us with that. And I've spent a lot of time talking about the physical successes, but we've also got some to celebrate that we wanted to highlight in this short annual recap. But one of those really was the announcement that Honda achieved the North America 2022 Car of the Year for the exclusively produced in Greensburg Honda Civic hatchback. And so we welcomed them to City Hall, we did a Civic Day. That's a big deal. That information is spread all over the world, and across North America that is touted, and they're made right here in Greensburg and only here. We also worked with Visit Greensburg to celebrate the bicentennial. We helped host over 40 events and historical learning opportunities. And we hosted our first concert series at the amphitheater, and citizens had the opportunity to partake in celebrations all year, thanks to the Visit Greensburg and the bicentennial team. And we also, at City Hall, we welcomed a new community partner. At the very end of the year, we welcomed the Indiana Drug Enforcement Association. They're a large law enforcement partner and leader in training, and they've relocated their headquarters to Greensburg. And they were looking for space, they needed an office that they could use, and they were looking to be a partner with our law enforcement agencies, so we welcomed them to City Hall. And so we're excited to be home of IEDA for the foreseeable future, and we're excited to have them as an active partner in our law enforcement and to help with the training and better exercising. By them being in our building, and our agreement with them was that our teams could attend their trainings for free to no cost or low cost. And so I'm hoping that that really helps incentivize more participation as well. Our team at the city has been out more in the last year than probably ever, and we've been working through those community safety cookouts. We've been visiting schools, we did proclamations, we've done Rotary proclamations as well. We've attended all kinds of community fairs, conferences, meetings, festivals, and we're really out representing all of you across the state as well. Our teams do travel quite a bit to different things. They're usually wearing the G, and they're there to represent us as a city and as a community. And I enjoyed that part of my job, as well as being out representing the city. And then I also really love the part where we get together and I can hear your ideas and your thoughts. And I always encourage you to please share those and help us achieve what we're going to achieve in the next year. And I think probably the kind of closing thought here is our team working together is what makes our community really special and a great place to call home. And I was thinking about this the other day, because you may not see the wastewater crew when they're out on Christmas dealing with a sewer lift station. You may not see the water crew out in the middle of the night in February when it's very cold fixing water main break. You may not see the police department when they're responding to an overdose or a crime, maybe when we're at the football game or we're here at this meeting. You may not see the fire department responding to a house fire on the 4th of July. You may not see the street and sanitation department when they pick up your trash every Monday. And you sure as heck don't see all the work that happens at City Hall for the administrative, pay the bills, make sure all the documents are in place. You may not get to see that, but I do. And it's a great part of the team to be. They're my team, they're our team as a community, and I think we've just got a really great one that comes to work every day to be there on behalf of you. And I get to do that, they get to do that, but so much of their work goes unseen. And so each year I make a commitment to remain committed to helping our community and our public safety connect. I also make that commitment to improving our public infrastructure, working to better our quality of life through community investments, and to make sure that that work's being done and shared with all of you, not only through this, but through our social media channels and other types of communications. Our partners in the media do a great job of sharing that success as well. And I stand before you today committed to do that once again, because the state of our city is strong. And I'm fortunate that I've had all of your support over the last 3 years. I'm looking forward to an incredibly successful and fantastic 2023 right here in Greensburg, Indiana. Thank you, everyone. Now, everyone's favorite part, Q&A. Happy to answer questions about anything we covered or didn't cover, or we can move on next. So, nothing? Yeah. Okay, Steve.
I'll start as usual. Going back to the stormwater, you know that was an issue at one point in time. But I think what people don't know is what Ron May explained to me is that this is something that hasn't been taken care of in the past because it didn't have the funding to do that. And he was explaining that the dollar amounts of projects that you guys have is astronomical, if I remember right. And even with the money that's coming in, I mean, it's gonna take years to complete all those projects. Can you explain?
Sure. So the idea behind the stormwater utility is not something new. There was actually a study done in 2008, 9, somewhere in there, that identified 12 projects. And they were put together, there was a price point, and this idea was presented that you probably needed some way to fund these projects. We had the flood of 2011, is that when the hospital in Columbus, all of that, and then there were 2 projects on the list that were completed with federal aid dollars, which was the retention facility south of GCOM there, north of the high school campus, south of GCOM, that kind of big dry pond. That was one. And then the other one was the one that's behind the current Decatur County School Admin Building, same concept, to reduce the flooding capacity, if you will, of Gas Creek in storms like that. So those were 2 were crossed off the list, but they did not use local dollars. They used federal aid dollars from that disaster. After that, the plan was put on the shelf and never looked at again. And so the conversation come back up about needing funds to help with stormwater items. We dug the plan off the shelf. That company that did it, no longer in business. So we went to one of our current vendors and said, could you update this? And they said, yeah, you're gonna hate the numbers. And so they had gone up substantially, as you might imagine, still no revenue source to fund it. We worked on a plan at a level of what is everyone pays now is the $3.50 for the ERU. We worked on a plan for a $7 in ERU, which would have fully funded that binder of 10 projects, almost exclusively all in residential areas, by the way, in 10 years. So the council opted to reduce that to $350, meaning now that plan, which doesn't account for inflation, would take 20 years to fund. And so we are reassessing about where can we make the most impact with those dollars. We remain committed to the projects and to the plan, but honestly, it's one of those things where that type of infrastructure to put in, a stormwater infrastructure, anything, is very, very expensive per linear foot. You just kind of don't get any economies of scale. So it's a very old idea that was never implemented, that we did implement. I have some concerns about, how do we make the most impact with the dollars we have. Residential units, yes, I pay that on my utility bill too, $350 a month. Don't really make up much of the dollar amount, if you will. It's really I'll use them as an example, the Walmart, right, of every square footage of impermeable space on that entire property is charged $350. Not per foot, per equivalent residential unit, which we can go down that road if anybody cares, but they pay a lot more. So it's really an industry commercial fee that we also charge to residents, but our project list mostly identifies residential areas. So we're really kind of converting the funds from commerce and industry into residential areas. That answer your question is a long answer, but there's about 10 more minutes I can put in the middle.
I probably asked this last year, but any timeline on the east side of the square when it might get beautified, so to speak, like the west side?
Sure, so it's a very timely question, and that we did identify that section as a project we would like to see in our READY application, so that Regional Economic Development Initiative. And a Preserving Main Street is what we titled it, is a downtown improvement project. So I am currently working through that with the consultant that helped us with READY to see when we could line that up. I am hopeful that maybe we could see some progress as early as yet this year, not necessarily maybe in construction, but in conversation about how do we move that forward. One thing I will note, a lot of these big infrastructure projects like Phase 2 of Veterans Way, like Park Road, like this east side of the square conversation is typically funded through an LPA, which is a local project award through the federal government. So you apply to NDOT, who's using federal dollars, federal highway dollars, to award projects. We typically have about a $5 to $7 million cap on ask, but it is a statewide competitive process. So we don't just get it because we ask. And then if you are selected, it takes 5 to 7 years to get the funding. So that's how big infrastructure projects like that are typically funded. So for example, the Park Road project, we applied in 2022 and we were awarded construction dollars for 2026, meaning that we can't move any dirt until 2026 when the funds will be made available. We also have made the commitment to phases 2, 3, 4, and how many ever it takes. So applying for another LPA project while getting money for that is, one, significantly frowned upon, two, and completely they won't fund 2 of them in a community like ours, unfortunately. So the point being, the reason I bring that up, with the READY dollars, which were through IEDC, which was through the state, which was through the federal bailout or federal ARPA money, we have some funds available from READY, and then we also have some of our ARPA dollars, and I'm currently burning up Amy's email about all the different places we can put money towards that kind of project.
Thank you.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Has the city and economic development given any consideration what's gonna happen to the Walgreens building when it becomes empty here in another month or so?
Outside of me driving down the road going, wonder what we could do with that. No, because it does seem, I know the Daily News broke that last week. I know there's been rumors on the street, but they had, to my knowledge, they've never contacted the city and said, hey, we're vacating this store. I don't know that anyone's ever seen a store closing announcement, and if you have, I'd love to see it. And I can't speak for the Economic Development Corporation, but as far as I'm aware, that was a surprise to us. And unfortunate.
Empty building.
Yeah. So
Maybe.
if anybody has any ideas of what to do with an old Walgreens building, let me know.
One more question, if you don't mind. So, I know we provide officers downtown on bikes and things like that. Have we seen a decrease in crime in relation to those officers that ride their bikes and or patrol the alleyways the way they were meant to or said they were going to be done when the bikes came into play?
I don't have an answer to the specific data for regions. We don't break down our police. For example, in Indianapolis, there are certain districts in IMPD, and they will release crime statistics based on certain districts. We don't break our officers down by district because we don't have the labor force to keep them in a certain section of the city. So all of our crime data, to my knowledge, is citywide. Which I reported, we are seeing a decrease in that generally across the board. I don't know of any instances where the bike patrol has done anything that has brought, that has garnered extreme specificness. Other questions? Comments? Larry and Beth, did you come back for this?
We did.
Okay, well, I wanted to be sure we had plenty of time for Q&A. Thank you for, we could have waited till 12:15. But thank you, as always, please reach out if we can ever be of help. Kristen runs all of our social media channels. Our friends in the media do a great job covering it as well. We've got Instagram and Twitter and Facebook. The Mayor's Youth Council, as I mentioned, a county-wide recent development, has taken a very active role in trying to do things. They're hosting trivia night at the branch on Saturday for 6th through 12th graders. So if you've got those or grandkids and you want to invite them to participate in that, it's free and open to anyone. They'll put the team together. They have been collecting bottle caps to do the benches out at parks. They have, I don't know, 30, 40 huge trash bags of bottle caps they have to sort through. They're on Instagram as well at greensburg.nyc. Give them a follow. They've been just doing great work, and couldn't do it without Clerk Treasurer Amy Lawrence and the whole team. So thank you all, and glad to be here once again.